Okay, this is a commentary over a time lapse of the illustration where the cover of the first volume of Isle of You. So don't worry too much about what's going on right now. I'm just testing out some brushes because yeah, I'm trying to like figure out like a good feel for the brush because yeah, like in chapter 1 it was like fucking painful to draw with. Chapter 2 got a little better, and then chapter 3 I feel like I figured shit out. I'll probably do a video about that stuff some other time. So yeah, starting to thumbnail the roughs and shit. Right. Yeah, no, the first thing I wanted to do with the cover was try to go with something minimal. You know, if you get a lot of these like manga reader sites or whatever, a lot of the covers are just like super maximal, just a bunch of shit on like the, you know, on the front cover colors and stuff. And I thought a good way to stand out would just be like, well, a good way to stand out would just be the opposite of that, you know? So I was trying to go with something minimal. Well, it doesn't look that minimal right now, but it will be. Try to go with something minimal or like, you know, large shapes, because I feel like a lot of the times you will see the cover for illustrations, it's like real small, you know, it's like a little thumbnail on like the homepage or whatever. So I was trying to focus on just large macro shapes in the painting or the illustration or whatever. So that's why there's like that, the moon, which is like a speech bubble type meme. You know, I'm trying to like chisel out the silhouette because I'm kind of really concerned with that, given the nature of the project. Trying to see if I can do something with her hair. Fuck that. Try it again. This time, add a little Dutch angle, widen the lens. Trying to make the composition more interesting or whatever. This is supposed to be like a picture of Claire running into the moon, saying the title. But the moon is also like a speech bubble, you feel me? So it's like a visual double entendre. So I'm trying to like make this shit work like compositionally speaking. And yeah, I know. It was not... Shit was not working out, man. It's fucking hard. I was trying to cope with like some hair, you know, to make the composition more visually interesting. Nope, didn't work. Tried again, but this time it goes in the top left corner. Try and work the title in there. Yeah, I remember I was like making this, I was trying to make sure that the title is incorporated into the cover, because it's not just like an illustration, it's also like yeah, you know, I want the whole thing to kind of feel coherent or cohesive, so I have to be mindful of like the text and stuff. So a little practice in graphic design, I guess, which I don't really have much experience with. Try to zoom her out, because right, because before I was like you need the face, you know, you need people latch onto the face, but I later realized that that was weak. That is artistically weak. Fuck that. Do not go for these cheap marketing criteria, okay? So abandon the face, fuck that shit. Focusing on the character silhouettes, you know, making an interesting pose or whatever. You know, try to pick a subject matter that is not done too often, or a way of presenting, you know, like a subject matter for a cover that's sort of a little bit more innovative or you know, not too generic. So right, so now I'm like on like the whole like posting. Actually, I was also thinking along the way, it's like, you know, like it's always like just some girl character, you know, it's like some woman's face, and it's like, no man, let's I'm not gonna rely on that as weaker artists. I'm gonna say it, as weaker artists before me have. There's gonna be a guy on the cover. It's gonna be a guy, and we're not gonna use face. We're gonna use silhouette, you know. So I'm starting to figure out what I want to do with the cover. Have like this thing where it's like, I like this guy, you know, he's like kind of splayed out on the ground, like he's like supposed to be like free falling, and instead of the moon, before it was the moon, now it's supposed to be like the planet. Still trying to figure out the text. It's not going so hot, to be honest. But things are starting to come together. I'm trying to figure out what should be on the image. So trying to go with this sort of, you know, an abstract image, but a concrete sort of presentation of space. So instead, like the cover is actually like a flat ground. You imagine the cover, the camera is sort of looking down at the floor, and so you have like the main character Cloud. He's sort of splayed out on the floor as though he's just like kind of fallen falling down. I'm trying to work out the pose right now. I'm trying to make sure his pose is kind of, you know, both interesting and also kind of looks like he's like falling, and also trying to do this thing with the knee where his like knee is up, because I'm trying to use like foreshortening to sort of express the depth of the screen. That's how you'll excuse me. Because, you know, if he's just splayed on the ground, it's gonna look kind of flat. So maybe his like legs are raised, so there's a bit of foreshortening, get a bit of depth in there. Struggling with the legs, don't really know what I want. The grayed out figure on the top left there is Claire. Right. I'm also trying to figure out the silhouette right now. So I have like his scarves kind of like splayed out to try and add to the human figure, you know, to sort of bulk out the silhouette, make it a little bit less predictable. I got this thing going with the scarf there, you know, looks like a certain something, not gonna go into it. I'm gonna draw the screen, the cracks in the screen right now, because not the cracks in the screen, the cracks on the floor, because like it's a bit of storytelling to try and like, you know, he's like fallen and it's like huge impact on the floor, so it's like crack the floor, so maybe if I had like cracks it'll kind of clue people in that he's like kind of fallen or whatever. Don't know if it worked, but yeah. So, and then I was like thinking like, okay, there's like too much, sorry, my Facebook's going off, it's too much like non-dimensional space. I'm negative space, you know, I'm a big negative space stan, and I wanted more of that, so I kind of pulled everything out, and now I'm starting to like get kind of worried that it's like if this is kind of like, you know, going back to a whole like small thumbnail thing, it's like kind of be kind of hard to see what's going on maybe, but you know, I figured I'll focus on the silhouette and I'll try to make the silhouette interesting, you know, like not really like concretely like like you might not really know what's going on, but I wanted the silhouette of the figures, the subject matter, to be particularly standout-ish. So intuitively it'd be kind of like attractive, you know, you'd kind of like see it on the thumbnail, but like, what the hell is that shape? Like, what's going on there? Excuse me. And you might click into it and then look at the cover and see what's going on. Also by now I've sort of been like, alright, this is an indie manga anyway, so like, do we really need like a title there? Because if you look on the site, right, like the title's gonna be on the side anyways, like, it doesn't really need to be on the cover page. And it's also gonna be displayed like below the cover on the side itself anyway, so like maybe you can just like do away with that. You know, maybe you don't need a fucking cover. So just focus on like the illustration. Let's pull the viewer in with the interest of an image, right? And so I was trying to, so that's where I'm at right now. Trying to work out Claire's pose. It's starting to be her like bending down, looking down at Claude, but it's like I'm really struggling with the foreshortening. Can't really get the like. I was very particular about getting the legs to show because I like drawing legs. So I try to draw like a side on angle to try and visualize the side, and then try to work from there. Really struggling with the legs, but yeah, no. Yeah, maybe so. Okay, like maybe she's like more leaned over, and that might help somehow. Maybe get the legs to be not so like next to each other, but sort of splayed, so it's more interesting. Well, I wanted the legs because I just wanted to add more. Right, going back to that silhouette thing where I wanted the silhouette to be more attractive, you know, more interesting, more surface area on the silhouette. You know, add the little legs there so that if you have your upper torso right here, it's like a rectangle in her head. You got these two little legs kind of pointing out the bottom. I think it might, you know, adds more perimeter to the shape, which might which might give me the bandwidth to make a more interesting silhouette. So I'm really focused on making sure the silhouette is nice. I tried my best, but I don't really know if it worked out. So I'm trying to figure it out. Got her legs to kind of show despite the camera angle, so it's not covered by her torso. It's starting to come together, and let's see what else is there to talk about regarding this. Yeah, no, I'm just struggling with the legs right now. Oh, so I was trying to. So she also has a scarf, but her scarf is supposed to be like her hair. I kind of didn't really give that away, but whatever, it's fine. So yeah, so they both. So like, I'm trying to do this, you know, playing with this thing with the symbols, with the scarves. We both have scarves, and that's supposed to be like symbolically important. Not gonna get to it too much from there. So right now, so Claude's got his scarf, and I kind of worked out, I kind of settled on the shape, how his scarf would add on to his shape, and like why it's like that. Figure that out. Oh right, okay, I'll get to it later. So actually her thing is figured out, and then I got the moon up top. And I'm trying playing with the ratios of the image, trying to make sure the negative space is all right, make sure the balance between what's like negative and positive is right. Got her scarf positioned properly, so I'm trying to do like this nice little leading the eye, like a comic. Leading the eye with like the moon up there, and then kind of use her scarf as like the zigzag, and kind of leads you down to her, and then you go from like the scarves, from Claire's scarf down to Cloud's scarf, and you get to him. And yeah, I feel like the scene is starting to paint the story properly, and here I'm trying to do like the text, and I'm fucking struggling with like what to do, because you know I kind of wanted to like figure out what to, like the font, you know, or whatever. Trying to figure out like what information to put there, whether I want like the volume there, and you know there's like this whole winter, there's a whole seasonal theme I'm trying to go for with the volumes or whatever, so try to do with that. And then also like there's like a bilingual sort of thing going on too, so it's English and Japanese. It's kind of like, you know, the whole story has like this thing that's like sort of a mixture of both, so it has like it's kind of okay, a little bit of lore. It's like, you know, I'm American, so I grew up in American English speaking world, but I consume a lot of anime and manga, so I've always been exposed to a lot of like Japanese iconography or like, you know, language. So I wanted to base the aesthetics of this to sort of be not really geared to Japanese people, not really geared to Americans, but it's supposed to be like, what does a person who grew up in an English, who kind of grew up in between American and Japanese culture, what does that kind of look like? You know, a kind of aesthetic that's kind of born in the interstitial space between those two national cultures or whatever. Anyways, okay, so now it's like, okay, I got that shit figured out. Got these boxes here to kind of placeholder for where the text is gonna go. You know, for the text, I'm trying to make sure it's like, again, still minimal. It doesn't really like eat up too much of the negative space, so that it feels, so it still feels minimal. Also, I wanted to mention that this like sort of camera position, it's a kind of an homage to the Akira poster, which is one of my favorite things ever. It's my favorite pieces of artwork ever. The one with like kind of just walking up to the bike. I love that shit. So I'm gonna try to detail the anatomy, and then trying to do the fashion because it's winter, and I thought, you know, I don't really want to like say that it's winter because it kind of gives it away, but like I want the theme. I guess I just gave it away anyways. But the clothing that they wear, using the fashion to sort of clue in the seasons, you know. So they're wearing like stuff they wear in the winter. So he's got like a trench coat and like long pants and like a sweater underneath. I'm trying to work out how the fabric is also going to change the silhouette of the figure. So I'm trying to work out like how exactly the jacket is splayed, so it looks like someone who like just landed flat on the floor, who like, you know, fell and like crashed into the floor, and his jacket's kind of splayed messily. But, you know, kind of balance between order and chaos, between like, you know, I wanted to feel chaotic, but I wanted to feel like a solid sort of shape. Working out the shape, the face there, it's not going so well. Leave it for later, but yeah, I'm trying to focus on that. This is the thing that I always run into with like cloaks and stuff. It's like, I really do like the way that when they kind of fly up, they really do kind of contradict the human figure a lot. You know, they kind of mess up the silhouette, and I've always liked that, so I'm trying to make sure that the jacket doesn't adhere too much to his like figure, and then it kind of adds a little bit more. It kind of bulks out his figure in an interesting way. So I'm trying to figure that out. Also, I was trying to figure out to make sure the pants are like kind of lying on the floor, you know, like, cause like it's not just like, you know, it's not just like hanging down. He's like kind of, he's not like standing, so like the gravity isn't pulling on his fabric downwards. And you know, a lot of fashion is designed to take advantage of how the clothes kind of fall on the body vertically, but he's laying down, so the clothes are all kind of pressing into him from our perspective, and you get some interesting folds there. You get some interesting sort of like creases that form that you wouldn't get otherwise. I'm trying to really express that and try to sell that he's lying on the floor and not just like kind of floating, you know, and make it more grounded or whatever. Here I'm trying to go for some sort of like weird effects twin type beat with like the aisle and then the changing it up for a view, because like I'm trying to do some shit with that. I'm not gonna get into it. Alright, I think now I'm starting to do the line work or whatever, so I can probably slow down a little bit. But yeah, no, I think throughout the time I was doing this, I mean, the time lapse really does not do justice of how long this shit took. It was like a week just planning this stupid ass composition. But yeah, no, I really struggled with the title. I wasn't really sure how to place the text in a way that it wouldn't like defeat the whole minimalism part of it. but it'll also be kind of readable, you know, like kind of juggling all these things. I don't know, I feel like with what I have here, I like it, but it's something that I would like to do a little better next time for the Volume 2 cover, but I mean, we'll see. The completion of Volume 2 is pretty far away, so yeah, it's gonna be a while. Yeah, trying to, again, like, I've got like the whole silhouette of his coat figured out, and now I'm trying to like add some nice creases and wrinkles to make it more volume structure. I'm trying to make sure like the kind of texture of the clothing is right. Yeah, no. And then his hands are skeleton hands. That's very deliberate. Not going into that shit. Right, and then the scarf, and then trying to add the fucking details on his coat. Apologies for the swearing, by the way. I'm not nice talking, so I'm using to kind of fill up the blank space. So, yeah. Right, the other thing was the face. So even though I was trying to do this thing where it's like, okay, let's just forget the face, you know, like all these manga covers, they gotta show the face. They gotta show the face of the heroine or whatever. And, yeah, no, we're not doing that shit here. So, sorry. So, I'm trying to go for a more simple facial expression. So it still reads if you look into it, but obviously it's not really something you'll be able to walk into right away, you know. That's the thing these days. You gotta play attention. You gotta, sorry, not play. You gotta deal with the attention. No, you don't. No, you fucking don't, man. You do not have to. Alright, that's for another video. Never mind. Yeah, I'm trying to make his face more simple, and now I'm trying to like add some embellishments on his jacket to make it more interesting. Got these frog buttons. Starting to come together. Now I'm working on Claire. Honestly, can't lie, I did not think as hard about Claire's outfit as I did Cloud's. Well, it was more that I kind of had it figured out from the get-go of what I wanted her to be wearing, which is like the trench coat, some gloves, a dress, leggings, and boots. So this went a lot faster. It was more really about the whole scarf situation. I'm trying to make that, again, you know, the whole point, the whole selling point of this thing is just like the shape of it, you know. So I'm trying to make, and right, so right now compositionally, right, the planet that Cloud is kind of lying under, that sort of composes him. It'll kind of make it so his body shape is not really as standoutish as Claire's, because Claire's shape deliberately pokes out of the planet for reasons, and then you got her scarf, which is kind of on that negative space. So the positive space is the moon, the planet, Claire, and Cloud, and the text. So everything else is gonna be like kind of whitish. So her scarf is really gonna stand out. That's gonna be where the contrast is pretty high, I think, because the background's gonna be white. So I'm trying to make sure that the scarf is particularly detailed in how the shape is and how the silhouette is. So got that going. Revisiting the cracks, trying to make that happen again. Got the moon there. Yeah. Not that happy with how the cracks turned out, but I think it does the purpose with, like, well, I was trying to go for this, again, very conscious of like the shape of it. I'm trying to go for this like nuclear symbol type of silhouette. You see, you got like the cracks that go up on the top, and then two prongs on like the right and left that go diagonally from the center or whatever. Yeah, the cracks filling out. Yeah. I guess I can mention now I'm doing this as practice because I need to do another video about a presentation. Presentation which I botched completely. God damn it. So, yeah, I'm gonna do like a video of that to right the wrong. Alright, you know, got the planet. Yeah. I remember thinking when I was drawing the planet, I was like, oh, like, forgot that, like, you know, in America it's all positioned where like America's on like the western part of the globe, and then you got the Europe on the east. But I think in Asia it's like flipped. So you got like the Asian continent, you got Asia placed in like the west, and then America's on like the east side or whatever. And they're just going with like neither-ish. Like they're both kind of cropped out. You just have the Pacific, or not the Pacific, the Atlantic. It's not that important. Oh right. Yeah, no, I was really struggling with the cast shadow because again, I want this like concrete presentation of space, so the cast shadow has to be somewhat right. And I was trying to like, you know, go the extra mile and have like the light source be the moon to kind of like round off the ideas, I guess, here. So like if you were to trace the cast shadow to the object that is cast from, it would go towards the moon to kind of lead the eye to like, you know, the moon is important in the story. So I'm doing all that shit, but I think I ended up not really, like, it's kind of faked a little bit, but I think if you draw some of the lines, it'll go. But yeah, because it was one of those things where it's like, you know, the idea is good, but like it ruins, again, like the whole point of this is the silhouette, so I can't really interfere with that. I have to kind of prioritize one or the other. That's the kind of thing that you end up having to, it's a skill you learn the more you draw and stuff like that. Especially as a professional, you learn to kind of do these sort of, what is it? These sort of like opportunity costs, I guess. So yeah, I'm trying to figure out the lighting. I'm trying to go for this slick, totally not inspired by Hisashi Eguchi cell shading, where you have just like, I guess the way I would describe it is you kind of swap. So you swap your highlights, or no, your normal colors become your highlights, and then your core shadow and your cast shadows become your normals. So it kind of gives this like bleached, washed out look, and it kind of is a bit more, at least the way I think about it, it's like a bit more concise from a silhouette. Not silhouette, but like the image has less detail and it's more concise in terms of value range, I guess. And yeah, it's like, you know, the silhouette's important, so I figured the style of coloring that would work the best is just cell shading. I'm also not that good at painting, so that's also why. I wish I was better at painting. But right. I got this whole, yeah, so I'm tracing out the shadow in black, because I'm trying to, because because everything that's not the shadow is just going to be white, so really the silhouette is kind of going to be influenced greatly by the shadow, how the shadows fall on the subject. So I've outlined it in black to kind of emphasize that shape. So yeah, I'm just doing I'm kind of marking down the values right now. And I'm going to try to, I have no idea what I'm going to color it at this point, so I'm trying to figure that shit out. I'm not really good with colors, I gotta say. Not really good at planning, because the whole thing with colors is like it's kind of about how you arrange the colors relative to each other, and like all the colors, like if you have like a colored image and you just like add one hue to it, it kind of changes the whole identity. And for me, I've been very like sensitive about that, so it's made coloring things really sort of aggravating and frustrating for me. Trying to get better at it, but you know, it is what it is. So I don't really know like what I'm gonna do with color here. I'm trying to go for something more like maybe more washed out, kind of almost like Copic markers type vibe. But it looks cringe, so I change it up later. Yeah, slowly filling everything in. Just pain doing this part, because it just never looks right until it's all there. I'm not as confident with the colors as I am with drawing, because I come from an animator background, so I'm not really used to handling the colors. But this is why we're doing this, to practice, you know, to get better, hopefully. Oh my god, yeah, I was trying to do the coat, and it's like it's a cream colored coat, but is it like yellowish cream color, or is it like reddish cream color? It's a very difficult decision, I don't know. So you'll kind of notice the coat sort of changes its off-white hue a bunch of times. Just think about that scene from American Psycho, or never mind. Yeah, I think I just started over. That's why the colors disappeared. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Hisashi Ekichi, and he does like when he does his skin tones, he'll have like a really nice kind of plump red for the shadows. It was like that. So I've just shamelessly stolen from him in that regard. Oh fuck. Yeah, I was trying to figure out what the color of the earth should be, and that was a pain because I was like, I just do like, I got like, I didn't want it to just look like one of those, you know, preschool mats where it's just got that like that saturated navy blue and got that, you know, the most green hue of green ever, and I just feel like an NPC whenever I color like that. I'm not gonna lie. So I was trying to change it up a little bit, make it more interesting. Yeah, and then I was like, oh shit, I gotta do a pattern on the scar. I have no idea what I'm gonna do, so I just left it for now. Just worry about other problems. Right, and then I came up with this red, this sort of red thematic here, because for other reasons that I'm just not gonna go into. Sorry. So I'm gonna figure it out. You know, I've always liked plaid patterns, so you know, let's do one of those memes here. Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm a big fan of like grids, you know, like math. You gotta draw that graph paper. I love graph paper. Love that shit. Love grids, so perspective grids and all that stuff. Big fan. And yeah, it's done. You know, it's there, man. I mean, it's a drawing. Did my best, you know, laid it all in the field. Hopefully it attracts some people to read the manga. But yeah, that's volume 1. This is the cover illustration. And then after this I spent like a few more days and hours just figuring out the fucking text. Yeah.